Who do you think of when you hear the term Native American? Most Native American figures we know of consist of Squanto, Sacagawea, Geronimo, Sitting Bull, Pocahontas, or rather Disney's version of Pocahontas, and a few others. Obviously these people are important, but let's take a moment to learn about a current Native American, Sherman Alexie. Sherman Alexie was born on October 7, 1966 at Sacred Heart Hospital in Spokane, Washington, and grew up on a Spokane Indian reservation. Sherman Alexie's parents were Sherman Joseph Alexie, who was a member of the Coeur d'Alene tribe, and Lillian Agnes Cox, who was of Choctaw, Spokane, and European American descent. They both were alcoholics, but his mother was a sober alcoholic. His father would leave on drinking sprees for days at a time while his mother worked hard to provide for the family. She sewed quilts, worked as a clerk at a trading post, and had other various jobs to provide for her 6 children, Alexie included. He was born with hydrocephalus and required brain surgery at 6 months old that had the potential of death or severe medical disabilities if he did survive. The surgery was successful, obviously, and left no mental disabilities, although it had other complications. Alexie has described his life at the reservation school as challenging because he was constantly teased by other kids as well as endured abuse that he described as torture from teachers who were white nuns. Another complication from his hydrocephalus was until the age of 7, Alexie suffered from seizures and bedwetting. He had to take strong drugs to control them. Because of his health problems, he was excluded from many activities that are rites of passage for a young Indian male. Those restrictions allowed Alexie to be superior academically, reading everything available, including auto repair manuals. To better his education, Alexie decided to leave the reservation and attend Reardon High School. The school was 22 miles off reservation, and Alexie was the only Native American student. He also became a star on the basketball team, ironically named the Reardon High School Indians. He also was elected as class president and participated as a member of the debate team. His high school successes set him up for a scholarship in 1985 at Jesuit Gonzaga University in Spokane. He felt enormous pressure to succeed in college because only 9.3% of Native Americans attended college. Consequently, he began drinking heavily to cope with his anxiety and became an alcoholic like his parents. Alexie finally found comfort in his literature classes. In 1987, he dropped out of Jesuit Gonzaga and enrolled in Washington State University, where he took a creative writing course taught by Alexie, a respected poet of Chinese American background. Alexie was at a low point in his life, and Coe served as a mentor to him. With his new appreciation of poetry, Alexie started working on what would be his first collection published, The Business of Fancy Dancing, Stories and Poems, published in 1992 through Hanging Loose Press. With that success, Alexie stopped drinking and quit school just 3 credits short of a degree. However, in 1995, he was awarded a bachelor's degree from Washington State University. Sherman Alexie's career in writing took off, giving us poems, short stories, and novels illuminating poverty and alcoholism that often shaped Native Americans living on reservation. Alexie's style evokes sadness and resentment, but also leaves the reader with a sense of compassion and respect for characters in seemingly hopeless situations. Many of his characters suffer from alcoholism, drug use, crime, or poverty, leading to the destruction of the mind, body, and spirits. There's a sense of wanting to accomplish more, but being incapable of doing so, elements of self-hatred, and a sense of powerlessness. There's no hiding the fact that Native Americans have been through so much and continue to go through that pain. In the Lone Ranger and Tonto Fist Fight in Heaven, he states, Native Americans have a way of surviving, but it's almost like Indians can easily survive the big stuff, mass murder or loss of language and land rights. But it's the small things that hurt the most. The white waitress who wouldn't take the order, Tonto, the Washington Redskins. Through these struggles, Alexie depicts the lives of Native Americans who attempt to escape their situation through alcohol and other forms of self-abuse. But the characters also access a mental, emotional, and spiritual outlet, which he refers to as fancy dancing. A key characteristic Alexie utilizes in his writing is irony, which is often maintained by a superb sense of timing and his dark humor. Commenting on The Business of Fancy Dancing, Alexie's first published poetry collection, Leslie Ullman in the Kenyon Review wrote that the author weaves a curiously soft-blended tapestry of humor, humility, pride, and metaphysical provocation out of the hardest realities. the tin shack lives, the alcohol dreams, the bad luck and burlesque disasters, and the self-destructive courage of his characters. As Alexie's style of dark-humored irony formed, his medium of writing expanded. In an interview, Alexie commented on his progression from poems to short stories to novels, and occurring pretty naturally because my poems are stories. It felt natural for me to evolve to a larger form. Not to say that it wasn't difficult for me at first, though. I had this thing about going beyond one-page typewritten. I get to the bottom of a page and freak out because I wouldn't know what to do next, but the stories kept getting bigger and bigger, and they began to demand more space than a poem could provide. Alexie was named to Granta's Best Young American Novelist in 1996. Editor Ian Jack said that the judges had liked his works because it had something to tell us. Native American life on reservation, is a pretty under-described experience. He added that Alexie's book wasn't sanctimonious or pious or a piece of political pleading. It introduced you to characters who were Native American and made them as complex and odd as everyone else. Alexie's first novel helped any person understand the modern Native American experience and exhibits what many Native Americans go through daily. Alexie's 2007 novel, Flight, also shows his familiar themes in new ways. In the story of a 15-year-old foster kid, Zitz, his adventures through time and his reincarnation as various historical characters, Alexie explores both sides of the familiar war between whites and Indians, or fathers and sons. Zitz witnesses brutal violence through the eyes of all of these people, and he gains an understanding of what it means to be the hero, the villain, and the victim all in one. Released the same year, Alexie's semi-autobiographical young adult novel, The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, received major critical praise and won a host of awards, including the National Book Award for Young People's Literature. Once again, he cleverly explores the controversial matters of alcoholism, poverty, bullying, violence, and sexuality. Like Alexie's own story, it begins with a boy named Junior and introducing the circumstances he was born in, including that he was born with hydrocephalus, and therefore is small for his age and suffers from seizures, poor eyesight, stuttering, and a lisp. Over a year span, Junior and his family suffer from many tragedies, all related to alcohol abuse, and it tests Junior's sense of hope for a better future and makes him wonder about the darker aspects of reservation culture. They also help him see how much his family and his new friends love him, and he learns to see himself as both Indian and American. Alexie has also been active in film, helping to create the first all-Indian movie, Smoke Signals.
You gotta look mean or people won't respect you. White people will run all over you if you don't look mean. You gotta look like a warrior. You gotta look like you just came back from killing a buffalo.
But our tribe never hunted buffalo, we were fishermen.
Based on an Alexie short story, Smoke Signals was produced, directed, and acted by Native American talent. The plot follows Victor Joseph, a young man living an aimless life in Idaho, who has lost contact with his Native American roots. He embarks on a journey to travel through his past and accept his present. The finished film took top honors at the Sundance Film Festival on its 1998 wide release. Alexie told a Time interviewer that he hoped that Smoke Signals would open doors for Indian filmmakers. Alexie continues in the film industry by writing and directing the movie adaptation of his own book, The Business of Fancy Dancing, and the independent film 49. Following this, in 2005, Alexie became the founding board member of the Longhouse Media, a nonprofit organization that is committed to teaching filmmaking skills to Native American youth and using media for cultural expression and social change. Alexie has supported youth programs and initiatives dedicated to supporting at-risk Native youth.
Being a tribe is loving every member of your tribe and valuing everything they bring to the tribe. It's this conglomeration, this community of people who bring their talents, their separate, unique, eccentric talents into it. And, I think it's being honored with these kids. So I'm really looking forward to the day when I can have an entire Native film crew, all of them, every single one of them.
Despite continued cultural oppression and stereotyping of Native Americans in the United States, he is promoting cultural acceptance and the embracing of Native American culture and literature and film. Sherman Alexie is educating people through his different works and providing outsiders with a glimpse of what it really means to be a Native American today.